Very good evening. You're watching the Free Press Journal. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. With me is Tuhin Sinha, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Thank you, Tuhin. Very good evening. Thanks for joining us. I
Thank
want to
you.
begin with what the
Yeah.
Prime Minister said earlier today during his visit to Bihar, where he spoke out on the Pahalgam terror attack. And he says India's spirit will not be diminished, it will not be broken by terrorism, terrorism will not go unpunished. Strong words coming from the Prime Minister. And it is, of course, reassuring coming from the head of the nation at a time like this when we are all grieving and we are still reeling under the whole shock and disbelief of the barbarity of the attack that happened in Pahalgam. But, Tuin, let's not forget questions are being raised on the government as well, on whether we faltered, whether we became complacent about Jammu and Kashmir. The repeated assurances from the Home Minister that J&K is now safe, it's free of cross-border terrorism. What happened?
Well, thank you, Afrida, for having me on your show. Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji's message is loud and clear for the world. Unfortunately, terror is an inalienable facet of Pakistan's existence. But with this particular terror attack, they have crossed a dangerous red line. Never have tourists been attacked on such a scale. Never has a perverse religious screening been done before butchering them. So yes, a dangerous red line has been crossed, and our retaliation this time is going to be unprecedented. Our retaliation is going to be something which you and I won't be able to imagine in our studios right now. The reason is, even in the past, at least with this government, if I briefly talk about our, equation with Pakistan, for the first 1.5 years post coming to power in 2014, we had given them a long rope. Nawaz Sharif was called for the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi in 2014. We gave them a long rope for 1.5 years. But when we realized that they are incorrigible, we retaliated with surgical strikes. We retaliated with Balakot. But yes, Pakistan being Pakistan, it had been a good 6 years, and especially after the elections in Kashmir, which saw a record turnout and the installation of a democratic government, they realized that this was probably the last-ditch attempt to stay relevant, which won't help them too far. So yes, this time we are going to hit at the core existence of Pakistan, because that is the only way, their terror propensity can be ended conclusively. And that is something which not only India, which the world today realizes. The kind of support which is coming from world leaders attests for that. Now, coming to on the issue of whether there was a lapse, yes, whenever there is a terror attack, there is a lapse, but I would not be in a position to tell you about the nature of lapse, because as my friend Abhijit may have explained to you, intelligence sharing is a very complex issue, the security agencies, the intelligence agencies need to be successful 100 times. The terror organizations need to be successful just once. And that is perhaps the reason why, Israel with its famed Mossad could not avert 7th October 2023. Why, some terror incidents have taken place in the past. But like I said, we are very clear. We are going to strike at the core existence of Pakistan, because till the time Pakistan exists, the track record of Pakistan in the last several decades has shown that they will never be able to get over their terror addiction.
Let's listen in to the Prime Minister, Tuhin. I'm just coming back to you after a quick listen in on what the PM said earlier.
Pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us. I thank the people of various countries and their leaders who have stood with us in these times.
So what I'm trying to ask you here, Tuhin, is also that, as you are very aware, there is anger, there is outrage, but in all of this, everyone is looking up to the Home Minister right now and to the Prime Minister right now. When will action be taken? What kind of action be taken? If you just about think that, this Indus Water Treaty and stopping the visas to Pakistan can be any sort of respite to the anger and outrage, that is not going to happen.
Let's be clear
There
that
is much
no
more that
government.
needs to be done.
No, absolutely, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And let's be clear that no government, no sane government in the world can divulge the details of military retaliation before it happens. But fact is, when I talk about hitting at the core existence of Pakistan, hitting, at the Indus Water Treaty pretty much does that. Maybe not immediately, but over the period of the next few years, you will see the difference it makes to Pakistan. They already are an impoverished nation, a colony, a slave of China. When that happens, you will see the entire Pakistan cripple. But yes, when it comes to Balochistan, that is again an area where my sense is we will act. Balochistan is in complete, is in a rebel, is in a very fragile state right now, and it's a matter of time before it breaks away from Pakistan. So I'm waiting for to know about my government's stand on Balochistan. But like I said, obviously the military retaliation is pending. We cannot tell you the time, we cannot tell you the mode, but that, because like I said, no sane government in the world will do that. But that is something which is due. I can tell you that in the last 11 years, we have paid back Pakistan, not just not just militarily, but one of the reasons for the frustration of Pakistan is that it is diplomatically ostracized in the world. At one point of time, 10 years ago, Saudi Arabia used to be one of the closest partners of Pakistan. Today, Pakistan stands isolated even within the Organization of Islamic Countries, barring 2 or 3 countries which still continue to support Pakistan. That is one of the reasons for Pakistan's frustration. In 2018, our diplomatic efforts ensured that they were put under restrictions of FATF, which they managed to get out of in the next 3 or 4 years. All these have played a very crucial role in crippling Pakistan. One of the reasons why.
But they have not become deterrents to him. They're not deterrents enough. Otherwise, this would not happen.
That's because of a loony army general, Asim Munir. If you look at it, if you hear his speeches, he's probably an Osama bin Laden. If the army, if Pakistan allows the army to be the head of its ideological thinking, then God save Pakistan. But unless a loony character like Asim Munir is treated at par with Osama bin Laden and handed over to the countries to which he's done damage, I don't think Pakistan has a future any which way.
So we are very clear, isn't it? And it's no secret that Pak army is unhinged. They do not have the kind of restraint that Indian army is observing. They operate on their own without any control of their union government. And it's very different here. Is that what we are paying for? That, we obviously observe those international rules. We go by the book. And here is a country we are dealing with who doesn't go by the book. Now, there is this whole historical thing that is in front of us, and our repeated attempts to follow the rules and to go by the book is not helping us. So it's a very, very, very complicated and
there is no denying the fact that Pakistan is a rogue nation. It's a terror nation. But also, let me make it very clear that this government is under no obligation to go by the books. Had it been, had we strictly been following the books, we would not have touched the Indus Water Treaty. There were enough situations, enough occasions in history where the previous governments could have thought of halting the Indus or putting the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, whether that was 1965, whether that was 1971, or the Kargil War, or the spate of terror incidents which took place between 2005 to 2008. The fact that we have done this now shows that we are under no obligation to strictly follow the rule book. The bottom line is that, a terror nation has no right to exist, and we will cripple it. We will hit at its existence and make sure that it is incapacitated and not in a position to carry out similar attacks in future.
The army is demoralized due to certain steps that your government took earlier. whether it is tying up with Mehbooba Mufti, and this is a very senior colleague of mine whose interaction I'll run up in this broadcast after I finish with you. He says that the army has never been given a free hand. The army is always constrained. And because of that, we
I
are
can
facing the situation today.
I can understand Omar Abdullah, making that allegation that, the Abdullahs have not been given a free run even after coming to power but I think, the amount of autonomy, at least in terms of its operational strategy, which has been given to the army, has been, pretty much the best that any previous Indian government has done. The fact is, and the army does not get demoralized by the political alignment which we make. And by the way, that alignment of 3 years with Mehbooba Mufti, while in hindsight we regret that, we obtained a whole lot of crucial information on what was going on in Kashmir, which played an effective role in our decision to abrogate Article 370. That provided us a certain access to government documents, to governance, which we would not have had otherwise. But yes, in hindsight, we have maintained that was not the best of decisions, and ideally, but we also quit that government when we realized that PDP cannot grow out of its closet fascination and infatuation for Pakistan.
Yeah. Now, since you brought up the abrogation, there is a very serious concern that, the part of it is a fallout of that the fear of domicile of other residents of India settling in Kashmir has derailed a lot of people, and that is the consequence. I mean, this is
Well,
the
this
mention
is
of that fear as well. Though the Kashmiri people are resisting it, but there are groups who are now reacting to the fact that there's an assimilation which is happening, and there is an integration
well,
into the
this reason,
country that is
this
happening.
is this is a very convenient reason given by terror apologists. Fact is that in 2019, when we abrogated Article 370, for the last 4 or 5 years prior to that, Kashmir anyway was completely crippled in terms of law and order. There were endless stone pelting incidents, which were being encouraged by both Mehbooba's party and NCP at that point of time. And Article 370 was a deterrent to a firm, resolute solution to the Kashmir problem. Article 370 was anyway a temporary provision. It became a permanent provision only by an act of subterfuge by the then Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, which was dissolved without notice in 1955. But today, it was in 2019. It was the Article 370 which had reduced the whole of Kashmir to a ghetto, which had reduced it to a bargaining tool for both the local parties. And had it not been abrogated at that point of time, you may have seen 300 out of 365 days in the year being completely lost to bunds and stone pelting incidents across Kashmir. All that has been put to an end, and Kashmir has seen prosperity and economic revival of an unprecedented kind in the last few years.
Yeah, I have two concluding questions. One is that what will you tell people at this point of time who are questioning that why has the BJP government failed to keep us safe? And there's a little kid, his video is viral right now. I'm sure you would have seen it. He's asking this question in all innocence that the union government is responsible for keeping us safe. Why were our borders not monitored better? And he lost his father, the kid that I'm talking about. Somewhere people are angry with your government as well. Are you ready to deal with that? Are you ready with a response to that? And okay, I'll come to this other question later.
If not an intelligence failure, certainly, there was a security lapse which cannot be denied. Without a security lapse, and a security lapse is there every time a terror incident takes place, and obviously as the government of the day, we have to take responsibility for that. The point is how we react from here. And like I said, the response is going to be, the magnitude of response is going to be far greater than the enormity of the provocation. And that is something which the world is going to witness, because it's honestly a favorable time for India. US is completely behind us. The most of Europe is, especially France and the superpowers, Australia is behind us, Japan is behind us. It's a good time for us to deal a body blow to Pakistan, which sets a benchmark for the world, and the world notices that as the right retribution for terrorism.
Yeah. My concluding question, Tuhin, is that the Kashmiri people have shown an amazing amount of resilience and support to the union government this time, almost to a level that we have not seen before, with so many of them out on the street saying, we want terror and the terror groups out of our land. Here is an opportunity to completely use this opportunity to bridge any sort of alienation that might be there any further. Is the government prepared to do that? Is it doing enough to reassure the Kashmiri people, who,
Well, the
by the way, will
government
be
has
the
been
worst sufferers after
Well,
this, with the tourism
the
being
government
impacted?
has been consistently reaching out to average Kashmiris over the last, many years, over the last, especially after the application of Article 370, and that is one of the reasons why you see, Republic Day or an Independence Day being celebrated in a very flamboyant way across Kashmir. There was a time in 2015, 2016 where people would shudder to raise the Indian flag at Lal Chowk, which is at the heart of Srinagar. Now, the situation today is completely different. It's a 180-degree shift from there. So that's only because we have won the trust of the people. And yes, I really appreciate the sentiment of the average Kashmiris. They are 95% of the Kashmiris have nothing to do with terror. They are completely aligned with the idea of development. And in fact, there are multiple videos, where like I said, one of the reasons for this terror attack is because Pakistan feels completely, outdated today. It is completely obsolete in the valley. And especially with the inauguration of the Chenab rail link, the connectivity between Srinagar and Delhi would have been, a lot easier. That would have, so, the point is, politicians from all of these three parties, from PDP and National Conference especially, and some of the politicians of Congress, when they use terms like cultural invasion for tourists or for people who want to come and work in the valley, they're doing a huge and massive disservice to Kashmir. Kashmir is not a ghetto. Kashmir has always been an open land. In the 13th and 14th century, Sufi saints from Central Asia were thronged to Kashmir. It's only these people, the Mehbubas and the Abdullahs of the world, who have reduced Kashmir to a ghetto. Let us
Yeah.
let us relate and let us identify with the aspirations of the average Kashmiri, and yes, let us help them grow. My heart goes out to them because today I'm sure for the next many months and maybe for even longer they're going to lose a lot of business because of what happened, and the terror attack has left indelible scars not only for tourists but also for the people of Kashmir.